You know, so it does make that much difference with the Easy Pass, you know. And computer, is getting the business. You know, I don't know if there are more truckers, because cost, there's no taxes. Plus, it is about 5 miles short.
So it's sorry, are you doing channel?
Recording in progress.
Who's the player first?
Not really.
I asked because I usually know you.
Yeah, I'm not. I hope not.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the September 20th Pittsfield Town Council meeting. Appreciate everyone visiting, and I'm hoping we'll have a very good, productive meeting. So I'd like to start the meeting inviting everybody to join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. And I'd like to ask us for a moment of silence. Go, please. Thank you all very much. So that takes care of opening number one. We'll look to number two, the adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting on September 6th, 2022, and I'll look for a motion from the council, please.
Make a motion to adopt the meeting minutes held on September 6th, 2022.
Second. Moved and seconded. Thank you, gentlemen. Any questions or comments from the council? Recommended changes? Very well. Hearing none, I sense a ready to vote. All those in favor of adopting the minutes as written of the regular meeting held on September 6th, 2022, please signify by saying aye. 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 All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. The adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting on September 6th, 2022 passes. Let's move on to number three, presentations, congratulations, and introductions. And Catherine, I will send that to you, please.
Thank you. For community and economic development activities and events, I'll be brief, but we've had some very good items take place here in town. We list the different projects that we're working on that we have grants just to keep them at the forefront of our activities and everybody's thoughts. The first item, number A, Planning Initiative Program Update. We have some exciting news. We have our own main DOT project number. So the PPI program will be listed in the next DOT plan. And so that number has been assigned. That's a good sign that the project will be funded. We just received the template for the RFP, request for proposals for planning consulting services, which needs the blanks filled in. So that's just come in, so I will take care of that. And then we received a copy of the agreement. So I'm going to send that information out to the new committee, and then it will be on the October council meeting, being the first meeting, so we can proceed forward with the PPI program. B, C, and D deal with the Main Street project with the different types of grants that we have. And although it was a lot of work and consumed several days, we now have our notice to proceed for the Northern Border Regional Commission grant. So we received a very pretty paper with green and browns on it and everything, stating it's our notice to proceed. And it's amazing to think that one page is worth $245,000. So this is really, really good news. The Northern Border Regional Commission $245,000 grant and the CDGB $250,000 grant really need to begin. So I think once the PPI begins, we can figure out a few items that we can work on that would not be infrastructure in the ground, but would be other items that can complement the project. So that will help us greatly. Our airport grants have been filed for reimbursement, and everything shuts down for a couple of weeks leading up to October 1st for the federal government for the FAA. So the reimbursements will likely come in November. And the airport hangar project has begun in earnest, started yesterday on the 19th. If there are any complaints or issues regarding the use of McCarty Road or the Harrison Avenue or any of the roads in the area, just let Donnie Shute or myself know. And we have many other smaller grant opportunities that we're working on. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Catherine. Move on to number 4, public hearings. There are none for this meeting. We shall go to number 5, reports. We shall start with council committees. Finance Committee.
No report.
No report, thank you. Ordinance Committee.
No report.
No report, thank you. Recycling Committee.
Recycling will be starting up in January 2023.
Okay. Put a note on that. Thank you very much for that. We'll move on to be board committee updates. By the council, the manager, any updates from the planning board?
No, and I did, because you did want a report from them if they had meetings, I added them to the reports at the end of the agenda with the department.
Excellent, thank you very much. Anything else that you'd like to bring up on that, Catherine, on B?
No.
Okay, let's move on to the town manager's report, please, Catherine.
All right, very good. On the town manager's report, I'm going to be brief, and as you notice, it's only 3 pages long, so that's a short one for me. But important business here, so I'll list a number of the items. Number 1, nomination papers. Candidates are needed for the following elected offices. A, town council. There is 1 District 3 council member for a 3-year term available, and 1 at-large council member for a 3-year term. Those start on January 1st. SAB 53 board meeting member directors. We have 2 3-year terms and 1 remainder of a term. They start on January 1st. Nomination papers must be returned to the town clerk by 5:00 p.m. on Monday, September 26, 2022. So that's next Monday at 5:00 p.m. Number 2, tax bills for 2022. This tax bill is for the Somerset County assessment, the SAD 53 assessment, and municipal appropriations. The mill rate for 2022 is $24.40 per thousand valuation, or an increase of 1.3 mills or 5.6%. With all of the sales, the town's certified ratio, for the first time in well over a decade, has slipped from 100% to 92% for 2022. So what that means is that the town needs to review its options to complete a revaluation. It's been a long time. We did factoring back in 2007. But because of all these sales and some funky values that have been going on, it may be time to do a revaluation. So we have some RFPs out there. Town officials and employees have done the best job possible to maintain service levels, address some capital improvements, and be conservative in spending. However, costs have increased across the board. The 2022 budgetary changes affecting taxes were Somerset County assessment to the town increased $42,142 being rounded off, or 7.4%. The SAD 53 assessment to the town increased $24,317 being rounded off from last year's assessment, or 0.73%. The municipal appropriations, the TIF financing plan, and overlay increased $160,600 being rounded off, or 6.4%. I would note that the council has received a copy of the fixed assets report. I was able to obtain that from another contact at the company. It was very light color, so I darkened it. Hopefully it's able to be read very well. It is attached as Exhibit A. For open positions recruitment, we're now starting to concentrate on the public works driver, equipment operator, and we already have a really good application that we've received, so interviewing process is ongoing. We also have one financial clerk position and 2 police officers. The fire department is always recruiting. That's gone on every year. I listed a number of the grant opportunities that we're looking at. I will note on that local infrastructure grant that we could sign up for that's being done through a leading university in preparation for the next stimulus funding is overrun with applications, and ours has not been accepted yet, but I'm sure that there'll be an opportunity to become involved and probably put them on webinars. Or we might still get a phone call because I called up for another session. And then there's a whole variety of other grants that are listed. And I saw Efficiency Maine has some more grants too, in which electric car and a whole bunch of other items that we could look at. Number 7, I wanted to note under public works activities that the 2022 summer paving for the surface coat is finished. This took a couple of months to get done. And so the last 2 roads were done, and I've explained to the council how that took place. And we do have our upcoming event for the annual Household Hazardous Waste Day. That will be coming up at the transfer station on October 1st. We just got our paperwork. And I wanted to note 2 other items very quickly. One that I'll send out with the next town manager's report, but I have the update from the town attorney in a paragraph on why we cannot use the drone pictures in a code enforcement case. So I'll send that out to all of the town councilors. And then I had an announcement. I wanted to announce the retirement of our police chief, Harold Pete Bickmore. Chief Bickmore has retired effective October 10th, 2022. He is unable to work anymore. He needs to take care of himself and would like to spend time with his family. Pete indicates that his last day will be October 10th, 2022. He would be retiring. That will be his anniversary date. He indicates in his wording, "It was an honor and privilege to have served the town and its citizens for the past 5 years. As I conclude more than 35 years in law enforcement, I am grateful for the opportunity to end my career working alongside the fine men and women at the police department in our ongoing public safety mission." And the mayor had indicated that I move forward as quickly as possible to fill the position. So I printed out a schedule that I'll pass out after the meeting, which has different steps that we used the last time that we filled the police chief's position. And so it has a variety of dates. It's just a draft so that we can make sure that we get organized on this. So the first item is if we have any counselors that like to volunteer for a search committee, we should have 2 counselors because having 3 counselors is considered a council meeting, and so we'd have to advertise it as such. But I think 2 would be good for a search committee. So think about that and let myself and the mayor know if anybody's interested in being on that. And on the schedule for hiring, which you will get a copy of after the meeting, it has a whole variety of dates on the steps and when we would interview, but that would be based upon the people on the committee and what your schedules are. But we have to set something to get moving along here. Thank you so much.
All right, Catherine, thank you. 1 minute, I think faster than I write. If I don't write it, I'll forget it. All right, thank you very much, Catherine. So that takes care of number 5. Number 6, old business. There is none. Let's move on to number 7, new business, ordinance 22-09. Please, Catherine.
Ordinance 22-09 to be set to public hearing on October 4th, 2022, that the town of Pittsfield hereby ordains to transfer property listed as map 25, lot 81 on the town of Pittsfield property tax maps dated April 1st, 2014 to Hammer Down Express Inc. for the sum of $20,000, and more particularly being the description in a deed to the inhabitants of the town of Pittsfield recorded in Somerset County Registry of Deeds in Book 879, page 566. The town council further authorizes the town manager to execute a municipal quitclaim deed with coverings to Hammerdown Express Inc. and any other documents required to effectuate the transfer.
All right, Catherine, thank you very much. I'll start with look for a motion from the council, please.
Make a motion, we adopt ordinance 2209
Set the
to
public
set
hearing.
the public hearing on 10/4/22.
Second.
Move in second. Thank you, gentlemen. So before we get into discussions, there are a number of people here that wish to speak on that topic. So a reminder, this motion is to move to public hearing for the next meeting on October 4th. However, there will be a lot of details that I'm sure will be asked, if not tonight, and during the next couple of weeks, and certainly at the next meeting. So I will try to allow this to go as long as we need so that everyone's comfortable to move to public hearing. So what I'd like to do is start the discussions. Mr. Gary Jordan, a member of the Peak, has just a brief statement he wants to bring just to get a little background information to get the discussions going. If you would, please, Gary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Town Council. The Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation was tasked with bringing you a proposal, an offer for the theater, and that's what you have before you. We met on September 12th and had a discussion with both the buyer and us in general. So what you have before you is an offer, as Catherine has stated, $20,000, and there's some details that go along with that also. We have this evening also Aaron Bolster from Allied Realty as the real estate agent for the town of Pittsfield, and he's going to talk a little bit on that. But you have in front of you the dealing with covenants, dealing with the projectors that are in there, the antique one in particular, and how this is going to be transferred to a quick claim deed with covenants. So you'll be speaking about that, I'm sure, tonight. But that's what you have before you right now. Any questions?
Well said, Aaron. Would you want to provide details on that, or fill in the blanks, or anything you want to add? Or
I think Gary did a pretty good job. Obviously, your account manager summarized it very good here. You can look at property one of two ways. It can be an asset or a liability, and it does appear that this has become a big liability for the town, and the council has probably already talked about this, but it's could be a good thing. It's not for me to decide. We're here to present the facts in the offer and the terms, and see if the council wants to have any discussion over that, and obviously we can go to public hearing and see ultimately what the citizens will decide. But it's a great piece of real estate. It just needs a lot of love, So I'll answer any questions if anybody has any.
okay. So what I'll do is open up to public comment. Anybody in the audience who want to speak, comment on this topic? Very well, and I see no one on Zoom, so that was easy. Anyone on the council? Any questions or comments that you'd like to present? I'm sure there'll be details for the next meeting, a bit more in depth than we are now. There is a lot of information there. We've had several iterations on this as since our meeting 2 or 3 weeks ago. Trying to beat the clock, and we appreciate your quick responses to our initial offers.
I guess my only concern is if you're going to accept, or if we're going to entertain offers that low, then we should list it that low to see what else is out there for people that will want to make a similar type investment in the theater and make it more of a competitive process. So it's not just, if people know it's worth $20,000 and we're willing to go that low, then why not list it for that low and see what else we can get for economic ideas and how we can make it more competitive, make it so it's more of a process to put a proposal on the table and maybe rate the proposals and see who has the best ideas. I don't kind of feel like we're almost giving it away for $20,000. It's not really, and I agree, it needs a lot of work. And I guess it is a liability, but I think it's also when you give up the ownership of it, you give up control over what it becomes in the future. And right now, I know it's empty, but at least we can help point it in the right direction in the future. I'm not saying this isn't the right direction at all. It's not what I'm implying. I think we need to be careful of just saying, hey, at 20 grand, just have at it, right? But it's my concern, I guess.
If I may respond, and I don't have a dog in this fight. So if you look at Resolution 22-90, that is that was put in there a stopgap, I guess. If we don't, and that honestly, I think that probably should have been the next meeting when there's actually action on this ordinance 2209, because discussion tonight is to move it to the public hearing.
Right.
So if for some reason it came to pass that did not pass, that was our option to do so at 2290. So the Pete committee had discussed that. There was an option that we did review and cover. And the other thing is the ordinances in this town, they dictate what places can and can't do, what they can be. You know, there are business loans, certain businesses that we want in areas, certain businesses that we don't want in areas. So that would certainly be covered by that. And it's also the council and the town's prerogative. If something has not been covered, they can certainly attend to that, because there's the medicinal recreational marijuana item that was discussed 3, 4, 5 years ago, some time ago. When it was, we had several companies approach us before Puritan took over the old GE place, UTC. So there are coverages there that we have as options. I'm not saying that it's bulletproof, but we do have that option as a council. Pete, you have?
The one question I would have is, what is going to be the intended use? That plays a big factor in whether I would support this price.
We have the parties concerned here. I know you gave a presentation for. Would you mind just giving a quick 2 or 3 sentences or read Dr. first what your intentions are?
Hi, my name is Tammy Smith. My children grew up in this town. We had to move away when we used to own Sibley Cove Resort out on the pond. Lost everything, moved away, they went to college. We moved back. My daughter's moving back. And my family has started, we became successful in a trucking business, which we recently sold. So we have decided to start reinvesting in our communities. My daughter and her husband are a big push for that. They're young, they have energy. And one of the things that we've looked at is an entertainment venue. Something that we could make our community look better, draw more people to our community, because small towns really can't survive in a bubble. We need people, and an entertainment venue would bring people here. I do own, I know marijuana's been brought up, I own a cannabis store in Detroit. Pittsfield is not on our radar for that type of business. It's not appropriate here. It wouldn't be viable. Like I said, we're already in Detroit. Sorry, I have cough area and asthma, so when I cough, it's because of that. And it is difficult for me to talk so fast. But we're looking at just reinvesting in the community. Where our kids grew up, and we're looking at an entertainment venue, not just a movie theater.
Yes.
We want to keep it as a movie theater because that's the history of it, and that's why we would like to keep that projector there. Our idea is to make that kind of a focal part of the decor. It's not a really beautiful, fancy theater, so you need things like that to show the history and make things interesting. But we're also looking at outside the box type entertainment.
So like comedies and...
Yeah, stage things, comedians, small music venues are big now. With, I went to see Clint Black at the Criterion in Far Harbor, and it was amazing. Things like that. and things that would draw in all interests and all age groups. Everyone in our family has their own ideas of what we'd like to see be done. And there's a lot of different things that you can do in a space like that that will draw people from other areas here for entertainment. And that's what our plan is. We can make Pittsfield look better to outsiders. I mean, our business will grow in other areas. We don't need to does not need to be a high profit. I guess I'm not saying that correctly, but
I think we understand.
I know.
yeah. So you bring people, the town prospers, and all businesses prosper.
Yep. Thank you.
Did I answer your question, or
You
did
did.
I just ramble?
No?
Okay.
Are you all set, Keith?
Yep.
Anything else, Council? Thank you for that, by the way. Appreciate it. Anything else, Council?
I was just going to second what Eric had said. I did have the same question as Pete regarding what the plan was, because I know you had a proposal in here, and I kind of read through that, and there were sort of multiple ideas discussed. But just the thought of the digital projector alone values like over $60,000, and I know that's in the covenants, right? That would have to stay with the property, etc. But it just seemed like a really low price, and if that was going to be the price that we sold it for, it seemed to make sense that we open that up to multiple other people at the same level. But that was my only kind of piece of.
Yeah, I mean, you've taken a $40,000 hit right just on that piece of equipment alone. So I would second what these guys are saying. Additionally, it says, so long as economically viable, that it remains a theater. I don't know if we've proven or not that the theater isn't economically viable, but it's lost $90,000 a year for X amount of years. That's why we shut it down. So, I mean, that sentence alone kind of leans it to maybe start out as a theater, but sounds like it really wouldn't stay that way necessarily. I mean, obviously, if they can make it viable, but I think you can look around the country and see that theaters are going out left and right. So,
Well,
I guess I would be skeptical.
I understand, and maybe you can provide some clarification on that. I know you had mentioned this is not going to be the crown and your the jewel in your crown. This is not what you're going to retire on.
Yeah.
I mean, you're planting a seed in a way. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I think, would you like to respond to that? Provide a little clarification if you could?
My husband could probably say it much better than me. But yes, theaters, especially small town theaters, are not viable. They're closing. That's why you need to be creative. And having a movie theater is still part of entertainment, but you need to use it in other ways as well. So if you remove that equipment, then it's just a building that needs a whole lot of work. So you start out as the theater showing the movies, and then you add other venues, other options. We lived in Kansas City for a long time. The theaters out there have started adding food, nice food, and tables and recliners and things like that. And we've got some designs in our head on how to do things like that, to make it a dinner and a movie destination kind of thing. So our very first business was a video store. Movies have always been our kind of passion.
Thank you.
So I want to kind of add something to what you had mentioned, Jason. I was just thinking of what you mentioned about having a movie theater doesn't make fiscal sense to some, not viable. And I'm going to speak as a counselor here. Is that all the more reason if it's not viable to us, and if it's not necessarily viable in our opinion or someone else's opinion to another person wanting to invest the money, to me, that's another reason why we should move on. That's my opinion. So, and I know I've been a proponent of that for many iterations for on the council, but it gets to the point where you realize that you can't justify throwing money anymore, not as a municipality.
Does the building need code as it is?
I don't believe it does. I know you folks, they've looked into it, and they're well aware of what they're getting into. And I think you had mentioned 3 months from sale, you have people that will be starting to at least make it weatherproof through the winter.
Yeah, and the major renovations wouldn't start until spring. We've got a couple of other projects going on right now that our crews are working on, but we would secure it and get it so it can make it through the winter without any further damage.
So you
But the
probably...
major repairs and renovations would probably start within 3 months, because I think, did we plan on through the winter having them work inside?
Right. We're going to attack the front of the building and the back of the building as soon as possible. So I guess the term is it's kind of tired looking, and we're going to make that look good right away. That's the first thing we're going to attack.
Right, and then
work on the inside. All the chairs have to go. That they've been there way too long. Those have to leave. We do have a good plan, and it's difficult to get workers to do anything right now. We have in-house people, but we do, like Tammy said, we have several other properties in Pittsfield we own that they're working on. We have a large property in Newport we just bought, but we will get people to the theater quickly and get things done. You'll see the marquee. That's going to be improved right away. That's hard to look at. I've looked at that for 25 years. That's not going to look like that come November, Thanksgiving, that time. It's not going to look like that anymore.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's the first job, is to make it look presentable, look nice, then secure the building, the heat, start bringing it up to code, and start the major renovations probably through the middle of the winter or early spring.
The roof.
The roof needs to be...
We have a plan for the roof. I'm sure everyone here knows the report that was done 6 years ago. It's saying it's $800,000 to get the building up to snuff. So there's a lot to do. It's going to take some time, but it's a passion project. That's why they're doing it. They're not doing it to make money. You're not going to make money on this theater as an owner for a long time. You're not going to get all that money back. There were days the theater had 6 people go to a movie, and we have all the statistics from years and years ago. You're not going to make a lot of money with 6 people in your theater, and we understand that. So it's going to be our job to get it to where we think it could be, and it could be a great place. I think the town's lost some of its identity when the theater closed. I was trying years ago before the pandemic to save the theater, and a lot of townspeople were. And then the pandemic hit, and we kind of stopped that organization that started. But they volunteered to do this, and I think it's a big asset for all of us if we get the theater back up and running. It doesn't look good downtown, having it look like that and empty. And I don't want to see a parking lot.
Would you guys be willing to provide your business plan so that we could see that before? Because I don't know.
Has it been written up?
No, it's not official. No, I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah.
I don't,
We just...
there's nothing secretive.
Yeah.
I know the estimates from back. I'm not saying you'd have to do every single thing of that $800,000, because no matter how passionate you are, I don't know anyone that spend $1 million on.
No.
And also, it's sort of like, it's just trying to make a sound decision for the future of Pittsfield, whether this type of business is what we want on Main Street. We're getting ready to embark on a massive multi-million-dollar Main Street renovation. And so it's kind of interesting timing, like we are on the kind of cusp of potentially being able to do something with that building that we don't even know we could do right now. So giving it away for $20,000 might not be something that would be the best decision. I'm just curious as to how it would march out from a business perspective. And also, Gary, I had a question for you around peak. Was there any discussion at the peak meeting that showed concern for the sale of this property? Or were there concerns, and what were those concerns, if you guys could share that from your perspective?
Well, just exactly what you were talking about, the price. There was concern, but the majority voted for the $20,000.
Were those that didn't vote, or if there was other concerns, it was all on the price? It wasn't anything else really from economic development perspective?
Well, I think there was a little concern about just, some people just did not know this corporation or this LLC. But
I looked it up. I couldn't really find
Yeah.
much either, to be fair.
But the bottom line is that it was publicly listed. It's been listed for several years right now. Yeah, pretty close. And there's been people that have gone through it, but really we've had no offers on it. This is the first offer we can talk about, and bring forward to you. So that's what we've done. And
It's listed for $149. Is that right?
$149.9, correct.
$149.9.
And that same conversation came up as the councilman, stated earlier, maybe put it out there at a lower price, and the committee earlier did talk about that and vetted it and had that conversation, because who really knows, right? I mean, even if you lowered it to $99.9, I mean, it might draw out. I think what's important here is that these folks do have a vision for the building, which honestly, it's a bird in the hand, and it's always better than two in the bush. So, you're going to roll the dice. If you say no to this, obviously, you're going to roll the dice, and there has to be accountability, obviously, to the townspeople.
I think to put this in perspective, $20,000 is not a lot of money. I would rather, my opinion, my feeling, and this is probably not going to be popular, I'd rather give it away for $0, $1. We'll sell it for $1, and we'll get the best 10 proposals and put those in front of a committee of people. And whoever has the best proposal, the best financial means to actually make it happen, and what we feel like is the best vision, owns the property for $1. 20 grand, seriously, it's not even, it's not much in the big scheme of things for the town. I'd rather see the best long-term competitive vision of that property than get the initial $20,000 up front and then not have the opportunity to see the other 9 proposals out there for that same piece of property.
To me, it's not about the money, though. It's about the community and what it could be.
Yeah, it's the 20 grand.
Right, that's what I said.
That's exactly what I just said.
More or less
It's not
what
about
you
the
said.
$20,000. It's about the next 10, 15, 20 years of that spot. What's the best proposal? Right? So take the top 20, take 20 proposals and put it in front of us. Sell for $1. It's not about the 20 grand at all. It's not about the 100, honestly. It's about the next 20 years of that property.
So I want to.
yeah, but you're going to sell that property. It's privately owned. You have no control really over it, unless they're breaking land use or building codes. That's it. When you sell a piece of property, the zoning controls what can be put in there, the land use.
But it becomes taxable property.
It becomes taxable property too. Exactly.
And we have an offer on the table, and they've shared their vision with us. And
And
it's
these
what it was before.
people are vested in this area. Okay, so we know who they are. You try to lower it. We don't know what kind of investors coming from any source that has some grand ideas on this. So we got to remember that too. You've heard from the buyer of what their vision is, and I'm sure that's going to change. I mean, who would have thought we would be doing Zoom? Now it's a way of life, really. So things are going to change. But I think that one thing you got to understand is that if you sell it, it's no longer the town's, and whatever's the zoning is going to control it. And we've talked about this marijuana thing, and try to put a provision there, but we don't. We've talked about that. We know we don't want that in the center of town, or at least I don't believe that town citizens want that. And you've got a proposal in front of you, so that proposal could go away too. And I don't know, Catherine, you have figures that how much it would cost to keep that theater vacant the cost of that.
So the first year, we had a budget of $5,000 and we did not spend the money. The second year, which is this year, the budget is $7,000, and because of fuel costs and electric costs, it's going to go over the $7,000. So we're going to have a higher figure when we put together the 2023 budget.
So one thing that brought this into scope for me, you're talking it's only $20,000, but I don't know since the town has owned it if that theater has ever made money. It's been one of the investments. You put it in a playground, you don't put it in the playground to make money, you put it in the playground for the enjoyment of the citizens. Same as the park. The fire department is not a money-making entity, but you put it in for the sake of the citizens of the town, and I consider that theater the same way. There are reasons why the town bought it, so it wouldn't become a hole on Main Street, especially where they were going with their so-called entertainment. So I see an opportunity, as I'll use Aaron's analogy, as a bird in the hand, and these people are vested in this area, they're from this area. They could have gone anywhere. I mean, they didn't have to go here, they could have gone Newport. And they've shared the vision with us, it's going to be a bigger tax or attention, plus more. If they have their way, they're looking at more. So I see it as purely red and black digits in a ledger. We need to get out from under this, and I see an opportunity to do so. That's my opinion as a counselor. So I see Mr. Gray, you're on here. We're into the conversation part. Have you been able to listen? Do you want some comments?
Please let me know.
So he's noted if there's anything that you have for questions or he can add, to let him know when he'll do so.
Okay. Well, I think Aaron and Gary have covered the details that were requested, and Mrs. Smith has also, and Scott, right?
Yep.
Pardon me if I didn't remember.
I wanted to clarify one point very quickly. On the list of equipment, that's the equipment that was to go with the theater, that would make it be a theater. There's also an old reel projector, which we call antique or historic. It probably isn't, but it's something that's of value to the town emotionally, that people relate to. So we wanted to leave that out and have the town own that as history, which is why it's not on that list. The prospective buyer wants to have that too, which is fine as long as the town retains ownership. We can lease it to them for $1. It was always thought by the town council that we would keep the old reel projector. If you change your mind, that's fine, but I did want you to know there's 2 projectors involved. One that's on the list and the old reel one. The old reel one is one that would have people connect with the history of the theater, which is fine, and it could be housed at the theater, but the town had proposed it not be part of this through E.
So,
May I say something to that?
yeah, go ahead, Mike, please.
Well, it's really nice, and I assume we're talking about that old projector down in the corner. I'm trying to figure out, okay, if the town wants to do something with that, where are they going to put it? Who's going to maintain it? It's simply going to sit somewhere and collect more dust than it has on it right now. And my vision would be, and Scott can add something to it, they're going to turn this into a showplace theater. They have the opportunity to showcase this projector. My feeling is, let them have it. They're not going to turn around and try to sell it to do anything, because that what war is, no value at all. We may think it has more of an emotional value than it does from a money standpoint. Scott could probably help clarify that, but I think their intent would be to showcase that theater as an old part of history from this area. And as we look around, we see what they have now. So, am I far off base?
So Mike, I believe the proposal is that the town maintains ownership in a way, and that it's on permanent loan or it stays right where it is. I don't think there's any intent that the town just move that out and hide it in the historical society or wrap it up and put it in storage. It does the town no good to have it anywhere where it is right now. And I know the potential buyers have expressed interest to have that as part of their showcase, and I don't see any other use for it other than that. So it's just a matter of ownership. I mean, if they have this place for the next 50 years, it stays in that spot for the next 50 years. I have no issues with that.
Yeah, Michael, our mayor is correct.
Right, Mike, I think you said it great. We have no interest in selling it. It's going to be a showcase, probably be in glass, some bring people's attention to it. It'd just be a good thing to have. But we're not going to sell it for $1,000. That'd be ridiculous. We have $500,000 we've got to sink into this.
Right. So any other comments, council? So this is to move for a public hearing. I know there's a lot of details that we'll probably hammer out next time too, but the more we can get done this time, I think next one might be a little bit smoother because I'm sure we may have more people involved here. Eric, I'm sorry I cut you off.
I mean, I just want to reiterate, I think before we should move forward on something like this, we ought to have more of a business plan or something to look at before we even consider putting the public hearing. And then we got to consider the price, and I think we ought to consider I personally think we should consider a different avenue to get different ideas on the table. You know, if we're going to sell it this cheap, I really feel like we need to see more than one proposal. That's just my feeling.
I believe you folks said you would be willing to share the business plan with Councilor Holmes.
We just
for
have
that.
to
Okay.
probably proofread it and make sure the spelling's
sure.
correct and all of that.
I don't know if you're going to see 20 people giving you proposals in this theater. I don't see it. It's been for sale for years and no activity. Really, we should offer $1 for it. The $20,000 for it it's not worth $20,000. It's a tremendous liability. We've had a CPA analyze it, the numbers. It's not worth anything. I'm sorry. It's not worth a thing. It's not worth 50 cents.
I want to interrupt you here. I want to concentrate on this comment about business plan. You know, we can save that for the next meeting. I understand your comments on that. So, could we possibly have that to the council for their consideration well before the October
Before the
12th
meeting, yep.
Thank you very much. If you can send the town manager and if you would distribute when you receive that, Catherine.
Certainly.
All right. Thank you.
There's a pretty decent overview of what they intend to do with that theater in their presentation that they made. And I understand that overview is a whole lot different from the business plan, but we're getting close to winter. If we keep dragging this thing out, they may not have time to line up contractors or material. Things are not going to get any easier this winter than they have been for the past couple. So I highly urge the council to move this thing to public hearing and let's let somebody who has the vision and the financial ability to make this thing happen.
All right. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Mike.
Anything else, council, before we go to vote?
As far as the procedure goes, if we vote it to go to public hearing, obviously next meeting is public hearing.
That's when we would vote.
Everybody states their case, and then we can either say yay or nay at that point.
That's correct. That's why I've asked if they could provide that requested business plan to the council before then, so we can at least digest a little bit more of it.
But at the same time, I don't know what the feel of the council is. If we already know it, or if we already have a decision that we don't even want to entertain it, then there's no point putting it to a public hearing, right?
That's your option. However, this vote is to move to public hearing so that we can have that discussion.
I would say that it sounds really wonderful what you're proposing. I would love to have the theater back. My kids went to the theater, they loved it. It's amazing, right? I can see what you're saying about this really cool, unique comedy shows, music venues, just something a little different, draws people in from other communities, makes Pittsfield's Main Street vibrant. We all want something to do, maybe on a Thursday where we don't have to drive 40 miles to the nearest theater or to Waterville. So I can 100% see that with you, and I appreciate that. the hard part for me is I'm looking at the capital asset list that we just got tonight, and it's like, it's listed at 129,000 net value. And I know it's not all about the money. And we have talked about, it's not worth, it is worth nothing. It's actually a huge liability. So to hear it be offered up for 20, or to give it away, really, for 20,000 or $1, whatever, as long as we can make a sound decision. And I just don't feel quite ready that I can make a sound decision without the business plan. And I hope that you can respect that. I can see your vision, and I want the same thing that you do. I need a little more information before I'm comfortable, and that's kind of where I'm sitting. And it's not any disrespect, because I know what it's like to start something from nothing and to put your heart, blood, sweat, and tears into it. And it doesn't always, and it's nonprofit, and it doesn't always make money, but if it's what you're passionate about, then I can appreciate that. But from a perspective of us, like I said, we're on the cusp of a Main Street renovation project with hundreds of thousands of dollars that are going to be at ours to sort of decide what's going to happen. That could potentially impact that space, and we don't know that for sure, and I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I just feel like I need more information before I can vote yes. That's where I'm at.
All right, so before we go to a vote, just a reminder, this vote is only to move it to a public hearing. There will be questions then, I'm quite sure. There will hopefully be answers that the council has, and maybe a lot of people in the audience, through discussions over the next couple of weeks, just to send it along so that we can talk about the details and see where the rubber actually hits the road. Any final thoughts or anything from council before we go to vote?
Is it possible we can table this and then get the business plan and then vote to put the public hearing?
Technically, yes. Personally, as a council, I wouldn't recommend it because, as been said before, the time that we're dealing with on this and the opportunity that the potential buyers had to improve this and make this a theater, as a council, I wouldn't agree with it, and I would vote down on that. I mean, you can certainly make that motion, and the council can entertain it. But I don't believe it's wise. I mean, everyone here said it's a liability, yet you're still holding out for the money. I don't agree with it. I don't. But if that's your prerogative as a council. Anything else, council? Very well, hearing none, since we're ready to vote, all those in favor of sending ordinance 22-09 to public hearing on October 4th, 2022, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Yeah, we shall poll the council. We'll start with Deputy Mayor Lodgedice.
Aye.
Councilor Holmstrom.
Nay.
Councilor Saucier.
Nay.
Councilor Hall.
Nay.
And I shall vote aye. So it's 3-2 for the two missing members. Does that call as a quorum?
4 is required for a quorum, so it doesn't pass.
So it does not pass, so there's no action to be done on this.
Correct. At this point.
So we don't have the votes to move this along, so do we have an option to move it on to the next council agenda, Catherine?
All we've done at this point is not set it to public hearing on October 4th. That doesn't mean it can't be set to public hearing on October 18th or another date. So
Very well.
yes, you can take other actions.
All right, very well. I will request that you put the next available date on that, add it to the next council agenda, please.
Certainly.
We're not doing
Very well.
We're done. We're done. We're done. We're not
Well,
waiting
we're
any
sending
longer.
our offer.
We're not waiting any longer. That is a ridiculous decision.
All right, well, appreciate your opinion. I don't want to get to that point, but it's certainly your prerogative. And I'm disappointed myself.
Yeah, it's a major disappointment.
As
Major.
time goes on, we're getting closer, like you said, closer to winter. We've got to make plans with our crew. We've got to order materials, things like that.
Understood?
So as this drags out, it's just not worth it for us. And I hope someone does come in and do something with it before it completely disintegrates.
Understood. I'm personally disappointed myself as a counselor, and I saw a vision. I was hoping to see that again, but I mean, it's your choice
Yeah.
for yourself. All right.
I gotta tell you, I am personally sorry to see this happen. You know, nobody has done a thing with that theater for the past 5 or 6 years. These are the people who can make that happen. And I wouldn't at all be surprised if they go buy a piece of land somewhere else in town, build their own damn theater. So
All right.
I would encourage.
All right. Michael, public comments over. I'm sorry. I need to cut you off. I need to move on here. Resolution 22-89, please, Catherine.
Resolved that the town council authorize the town manager to execute the contract for the sale of commercial real estate for the former Pittsfield Community Theater at 137 Main Street, described in Somerset County Registry of Deeds, Book 879, page 566, conditioned on the town council's approval of the ordinance to sell the theater after a duly called public hearing and vote.
We'll look for a motion. Council, please.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 22-89.
We have a motion. Look for a second.
Second.
We have a motion and second. So resolution 22-89 was predicated on the movement of previous ordinance 22-09 to a public hearing and the potential approval of that. So resolution 22-89 is pretty much a moot point. It means absolutely nothing to the council or to the town right now. So,
So I withdraw that motion to adopt.
You can either do
okay,
that.
well, let's keep it in there. We can just vote it down.
Let's
We can
vote
move it
if you
along.
want.
We have the active motion.
Okay.
We have no reason to continue it along because the first ordinance disappears.
It's better to clean it off the.
Yep, absolutely. So any questions or comments, council? Very well, hearing none. All those in favor of resolution 22-89, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. Nay. Resolution 22-89 has been voted down. Resolution 22-90, please, Catherine.
Resolution 22-90, resolved that the town council instruct Allied Realty to lower the price on the property listed as map 25, lot 81 to blank, if it is decided to not set ordinance 22-09 to public hearing on October 4th, 2022.
Look for a motion from council, please.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 22-90.
Second.
Moved and seconded. So if you want to move on this, I assume council has a price they want to put in there. So before we do that, since this is related with Allied Realty, Gary, you and Aaron, I would ask for your input on that. What would you, in your professional opinion, assume a reasonable number that we put in there? Have you given this any thought? I know we threw out some numbers, but nothing.
Probably not. We probably need a concrete thought. There's been a number thrown out at peak, but whether we didn't really put it on that number. So I don't know if we have a firm number.
So
Aaron might have a firm number.
So what we'd probably do, given how potentially divisive this could be, we could certainly table this and deal with it another time, and we would ask that possibly Peak work with Allied Realty, being the realtor, and come up with a number that you feel would be reasonable. Given market conditions, given the property, just a second, Captain. Given the property and given the potential or lack thereof. Yes, Catherine.
Yes, the recommendation that Mrs. Blodgett had was $50,000, and she had emailed
All
me on
right.
that.
Well, I would feel more comfortable with the council to table that and do a little research before we throw a number at it. I know that was, as Gary had mentioned, that's numbers that were just thrown around. What if we do this? What if we do that? We hadn't really. I don't believe we thought about this resolution to this kind of degree or likelihood of it happening.
We did not think it was going to happen.
Yeah, understood. So if the council is willing to do so, we can rescind the motion and make a motion to table. Any comments, council?
I'm not sure why it was on the agenda in the first place if we weren't going to move on it.
I was instructed to put it on by Keith.
The question they just asked, what's a good number? You want to just throw a number in, and would you be satisfied just put a number and move on it tonight? Or would you want to have a little research done on that? And if the point is that you didn't want to sell to these people $20,000 who are going to make it a theater, is that you want to make more money, what number do you want to use? So what I'm saying is that given the market conditions, given the property, given the potential or lack of any potential whatsoever, that we would have the experts that we work with to give us a reasonable number instead of throwing something at the dartboard and see what sticks, and then a year and a half from now having the same conversation. That's why I was looking for a conversation on that. That's why if we're going to do this in replacement of the ordinance that was just voted down, we need to have a number in there that makes sense to the town.
I agree with you. It makes sense to talk to the experts and come up with a number that is based in sound reason and what we want to do with it.
Oh yeah, I understand that.
So it's not that it's not going to be moved on. We'll just table to the next meeting.
Yeah,
That way we'll give these gentlemen and the
Okay.
Peak Committee a couple weeks to work on it.
That makes sense.
Then we have to bring it back to you and get that okay, put that price on.
Right.
So-
it is a process, it's a little
I'll
process.
rescind the motion to adopt and make a motion that we table resolution 22-90.
Okay, we have a motion to table.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Any questions or comments on that? Yes.
Are you doing public comment?
Yes, please.
I guess I'm a little confused. Several councilors agreed that it wasn't worth anything. The prospective buyers said $20,000 was offering too much. And now you're saying, well, let's offer it at a higher price than the $20,000 that was just sitting here in front of you that somebody was willing to pay. I think that you're way overthinking it. I think that you just lost a huge opportunity for improvement in our downtown. Somebody was sitting in front of you saying, we want to do this project. Business plans are just that, business plans. It doesn't mean that that's what's actually going to happen.
I want to interrupt you. Let's keep on topic of tabling this resolution, please.
Regarding setting a new price, it really shouldn't matter. Everyone just agreed that $20,000 didn't matter. So I'm not sure why you're going to be setting another price. They would be higher than the $20,000.
We got an offer for $20,000 on a list price of $149.
Yes.
And if I'm being completely honest, I'm not going to vote yes to something until I feel comfortable with the information. I've had 72 hours to read through this, and I wanted to see a business plan that could have been voted a yes in 2 weeks, and it caused that kind of reaction. So for me, that is a huge red flag.
Yeah.
2 weeks
That was
is
a
not
red
a
flag
yes or
right
no,
there.
but I feel like it was very emotional. I'm trying to be logical. And if we change the listing price, it might generate interest. And I'm not saying the theater is worth anything more than what someone's willing to put on it in the vision. And like I said before, completely would have loved for them to sit tight for 2 weeks and show us a business plan. And if that's not in the cards for them, then let's continue on and try to sell it to somebody that wants it. I'm fine with that. And I would have been fine with doing any version of that. But I'm not comfortable putting my yes behind something that I don't fully understand. So I hope that the town of Pittsfield can respect that.
And the latest iteration that we got was this morning at
Right,
like
so I
10
need
a.m.
some- just
There's
a
no
little
way
bit of
we
time
had
before I
time to
vote.
look at this stuff.
But anyway,
It
so
just kept
Okay,
coming.
all right, let's
yeah.
keep it on the resolution 2290 as presented for a tabling. That discussion is passed. We had our opportunity to do that. The council decided they didn't even want to talk about it later on. That's why we lost the buyer.
No.
So resolution 22-90 is being tabled. That's the motion on the floor right now, based on a professional input as to what a reasonable price would be to market this. Any questions or comments on that, council? Very well. Hearing none, a sensory of the vote. All those in favor of tabling resolution 22-90, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Resolution 22-90 will be tabled till the next meeting. Gary, Aaron, if you need to call Pete, please, I'll drop in your lap if you can provide some feedback or information before the next meeting. Be greatly appreciated. All right.
I'll let you know when we're ready.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Resolution 22-91, please, Catherine.
Resolution 22-91, resolved that the Town Council waive the regulations of bids, Chapter 2, Administrative Code, Section 106, to approve the transfer and expenditure of $8,827 from the Library Capital Reserve, Pit Number 41, G164900, for labor and parts to replace the HVAC systems controller.
Look for a motion from council, please.
I make a motion to adopt resolution 22-91.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you, gentlemen. Questions or comments from the audience? Questions or comments from the council? None? Very well. Hearing none, since we're ready to vote, all those in favor of resolution 22-91, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Resolution 2291 passes. Catherine, let's move on to resolution 2292, please.
Resolution 22-92, resolved that the Town Council authorize the Town Manager to execute the letter of intent to participate in the one-day Household Hazardous Waste Collection event on Saturday, October 1st, 2022.
Look for a motion from council, please.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 22-92.
I have a motion.
Second.
Seconded. Thank you, gentlemen. Greatly appreciated. Catherine, this is household hazardous waste, so that's like paint and cleaner and that.
Yes, it's all of those items
Okay, very well.
for residences.
All right. Any questions or comments from the audience? Any questions or comments from the council? Yearly thing. Very well. Hearing none, the sense we're ready to vote. All those in favor of resolution 22-92, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Resolution 22-92 passes. Let's move on to resolution 2293, please, Catherine.
Resolution 22-93, resolved that the Town Council waive the regulations of bids, Chapter 2, Administrative Code, Section 106, and authorize the Town Manager to execute a one-year contract for snow plowing with S&G Construction at a rate of $3,127.43 per mile for a total of $120,406.06, with 38.5 miles for 2022 to 2023, with such mileage to be adjusted if the town adds road mileage during the term of the contract or deletes routes during the term of the contract.
We'll look for a motion from council, please.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 22-93.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second. Move to second. Thank you, gentlemen. Catherine, this the only bid that we had received?
Yes, the council has worked with S&G Construction for decades because every time this project was put out to bid, there were no bids except for S&G, and it's doubtful there will be any now. Generally, they've had a 0 to a 5% increase, sometimes 0, sometimes 3, sometimes 5.
What is this one?
However, this one is a 15% increase in the contract due to the current economics. So I went over this with S&G and with Donnie. The increase is due to the increase in cost in diesel, labor, insurance, all steel products, difficulty getting parts, and needs to replace trucks which are hard to locate, and so forth. It's the exact same items the town is going through.
Any questions or comments from the audience? Questions or comments from the council?
Did we ask them if they were interested in routes 1 and 2?
At this point, labor is hard for them too. So
Yeah.
It's the exact same situation.
Yeah, I just knew we were struggling with drivers
We're
and
struggling.
our
We have a
equipment's
couple of drivers
struggling.
that will be interviewing, which is good.
Right.
And one person that was going to retire is reconsidering now, which is very good.
Okay, so,
So yes, we did talk to them, but they're in the same situation we are. You could write this about the town.
okay. I was just,
It's a good point.
yeah.
Anything else, council? You all set, Jason?
Yep.
Anything else, council? Thank you. Very well. Hearing none, the sense ready to vote. All those in favor of resolution 22-93, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Resolution 22-93 passes. So let's move on to discussion items. Catherine, if you can give us the bullet points, please.
Yes, in your package, you received a copy of all the department reports. So you have all those since last week to read. You can peruse them at your consideration. And due to the time that was spent on the tax claims, the taxes, the financial trio system, and taking care of the issues which are getting better and better, I did not finish the financial reports. I did find the differences from when the system was freezing up back on the last 3 months, so that was very good. So I'll have these finished this weekend and forward them to you and put them on the website. Thank you.
All set?
Yes, thank you.
That was very quick.
I know. I'm
You
getting better.
bulleted the bullet points.
I am. I'm getting
Thank you,
better.
Catherine, for that. Greatly appreciate it. So we'll move on to reports. We'll start with audience. Anyone in the audience wishes to speak? Heather, please.
Catherine, you had mentioned paving was complete. Is that just in the downtown area, or is there outside country?
It's
Country roads being
just in the downtown area for the surface coat only. The other pavement is the binder coat in the country roads.
Okay.
And there is a certain temperature the company must keep above if they're going to place it on.
So is that like coming soon? Because it just got like drastically cold in the last week.
I know it is. We're concerned about this and talking to the company. It took 2 months for the surface coat to be put on all the roads. And so this is a concern, and Donnie and I have been talking to the company. They're just overloaded with work and other items.
Thank you. And I guess this is my opportunity actually to voice my disappointment in the council in not voting to sell the theater building. It's a huge loss of opportunity for the town. This council and members of the council have repeatedly said that they want to see downtown development, that you want to see greatness brought back to town. And that's what these people wanted to do. I don't think that your actions tonight match the words that you've been saying all along. And it's the first large-scale opportunity for downtown development that's walked in these doors in a very long time as far as adding to the quality of life. I'm not talking about like adding jobs like Puritan and those kinds of developments, but we're talking about like really changing the downtown and bringing a little more life into downtown. And so this is a huge disappointment. I think you're being incredibly short-sighted, way over managing it, asking people for business plans. A plan is just that, it's a plan. It doesn't mean that when they get in there in 3 months and they're really looking at all the parts and the pieces of the building, that they don't need to change things. Business plans are flexible. They're goals to be attained, and people rewrite them all the time based on progress that they make on that business plan. It's not set in stone. Somebody can give you great proposals. That doesn't mean that that is what's actually going to happen with the building. When you sell a piece of property, you sell property. And for the town, your only way of governing what happens in that building is through your ordinances, through your zoning, and through your covenants. And those things were all addressed in the counter proposal that PTAG recommended be made and that they accepted, as far as the marijuana issue that was brought up, and as far as it remaining as an entertainment venue. They spoke to what they were going to be doing on that. And I know it's kind of beating a dead drum or dead horse or however you want to say it, but it's just a huge opportunity that you're missing. And it's gone out the door and we're starting back at square one. A year and a half the building's been for sale. This is the only offer of any type that's come through the doors. So I hope that when this comes back and the other item that's tabled about lowering the purchase price actually brings you the 10 or 20 offers that you're looking for and you have a bunch to choose from, because they're going to be facing the same things that these people are facing with trying to get the building secured for winter, if you can even get it sold through this winter. You're looking at the town maintaining this building for at least another 6 to 12 months at a minimum. That's all I have.
All right, Heather, thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Peter, please.
All due respect, that theater can have tremendous value for this community, but I don't think it's unreasonable for this council to ask for a business plan and a plan of what they plan to do with it, number one, and also to be able to demonstrate the capacity for them to execute that plan. That's not unreasonable, especially with a price that you've offered at $20,000. You've got an asset there, the equipment of which in that building alone is far in excess, the value is far in excess of the $20,000. Kathleen, can you tell me what the town paid for the projector system alone in recent years?
It was a little bit over $50,000. So the total of the digital projector and all the parts that go with it was valued around $64,000.
Thank you. And so my point to you is, you have a responsibility as counselors to understand clearly the objective here. I think it's a reasonable offer, perhaps at $20,000, and if they have to spend $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 to get it up, but what for? And to demonstrate what that plan is, and then on top of that, to demonstrate their financial capacity to execute the plan. Because you'll be talking about this again if those questions are not asked and answered correctly. And I think you're justified in taking that position as a council, because ultimately the town people here in this community depend on you making those rational decisions and looking after the well-being of the community. And God only knows, there have been decisions made in the past, not by this council, but things have taken place in this community. And people have assets, they don't take care of them, and look at what we got. Just go look at that Ford garage down there and see what we got for an asset. And take a walk around this town and see the dilapidation and the lack of investment and people not taking care of their properties. We don't need another one, for sure. But I think you're justified in asking those questions. And I would perhaps ask you to consider talking to these people and say, give us a plan. That was not an unreasonable request, in my opinion. What's the plan? And describe for us your financial capacity to execute your plan. Because the conditions that I heard you communicate didn't give them the requirement that they can't go out and sell it for somebody for another $50,000 on top of it. And then we end up with an empty building. Who knows? I think you're justified in asking those questions, and I compliment you for doing that.
What's that, Peter? All right, thank you. Anyone else? Tony? Anything you want to bring up?
I guess I missed the whole theater thing, but
Yes, you did.
With me chiming in, I guess, on the theater is that I think you're right. I don't think you want a big hole on Main Street. I think that we've got something there that could be used. I will say this, knowing, I think I know who the one that put the offer in for the theater. I do know they do have a vision for what they want, and I do know they have the financial capacity to be able to do what they want to do.
Had, past tense.
Had. So, I think it would be a nice asset if we did have entertainment, have another venue there that somebody would operate that. I do know that he's made a huge commitment to himself and to the community. He's bought Colonel Wiley's place. He's turning it into a multiple housing unit. He's bought one on the top of Grove Hill at Byrne. He's putting a mini house there. He's bought numerous properties that he's rehabbing in other communities. And personally, I do know him. A lot of people give him a bad rap. Him and his wife do the hot shop in Detroit, or whatever they want to call it, the grams, fives, and dimes. I do know that he has no capacity to do recreational marijuana or to do any smoking mirrors and think that that's what they're going to do here in Pittsfield, or that would be a concern, because it's very clear that we have a moratorium. We don't want that here in this community, and he's been very aware of that. And I don't think you'll see him wanting to expand that type of business. That was just something that he got into. Him and his wife made a good decision to do it on the medical side. And it was a good business plan, and they've been very good to Detroit, community Detroit, and they do spend a lot of money. And they, if you know the two, they have a pretty good vision for everything that they do. So I hope they would come with a business plan or have something there, or something in writing. They're very good people, and I hope that doesn't discourage them from trying it, because I think that they have the financial capacity and the ability to do something with that building. I just hate to see it sit there, fall down. The biggest concern on the other end is public safety. With that being empty and not having it be used, and God forbid something should happen, if that would to catch fire, something should happen, it could take the rest of what we had worked so greatly for on Main Street. So hopefully it'll be resolved. We can see something done.
What's that?
Yeah.
Okay. Sir? Okay. So we'll start with Council Saucier.
So that was pretty exciting. I don't like feeling the pressure of needing to make a decision right now with a gun to your head. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for more information. If I get requests from whether it be a coworker, a supervisor, my kids, my wife, my father, a friend, and it's vague and it seems pushed and it always drives me more to ask more questions. And I don't think it's unreasonable to make a decision based on having more information. I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable to think that waiting 2 more weeks when they're not going to be ready for winter. I don't think it's unreasonable to think that if you posted this, if it's really only worth $20,000, we post it online for sale for $20,000, then we're not going to get more offers. You never know. There's always another offer. Always. It might not be as good. It might be a lot worse. Who knows? But asking for more information to truly understand the situation, because it impacts the vision of Pittsfield and that downtown area, there's not going to be a more downtown area than there is right now, right? It's downtown. There's only so many square feet, and we just got to use the area wisely. To ask for information about that area and how it's going to be used in the future is not unreasonable. So I also hope they come with a business plan or with some ideas and give us a little bit more time to digest so that we can make a good decision on the space. And I'd love to see the details about it. Absolutely. That's it.
Council Hall?
I got no report.
Council Holmstrom?
I feel badly that the decision to ask for more information resulted in a very emotional withdrawal and out the door kind of reaction, and that kind of gives me even more pause, because I just wanted a business plan. I don't think it's too much to ask, but the whole pressure, the winter's coming, you must make this decision now, that it didn't feel good to me. I only had a few days to look at this and digest it, and then there were addendums that came in even today. So I don't want to make anyone unhappy, and I can see that vision, and I didn't know the background and the context, Donnie, so thank you. Side note, real quick, big shout out for Donnie, because there was an issue at the school recently, and the administrative team had to call Donnie to resolve an accessibility issue for a kiddo in a wheelchair in our district, and he came out the same day and took care of it. So I think that's really awesome, and I made a note to make sure if you were here that I would give you kudos for that, because that's awesome. But anyway, so I do feel kind of badly, but I stand firm in that. To Heather's point, we do have a future vision of what we're trying to paint here, and I don't think that asking for 2 weeks, and if I'd known that that would cause that reaction, then if I'd said, okay, when we come to public hearing, we won't vote yes unless you bring all that information, then perhaps that would have been the way to steer that conversation, because I had no idea that was going to cause that kind of reaction. I would have been welcome to hear more of what they had to say in 2 weeks, having given more time, so I don't know how to fix that. Now, obviously, they stormed out very angry, and I feel badly about that. So, but anyway, maybe they'll come around and we'll hear more of what they have to say, and it'll be viable, and there'll be a business plan, and on we'll go. But I do think there's a lot of opportunity for that very prime spot in downtown. And I've only been on the council a few months, so maybe this has been a plaguing problem for years and years and years. But for me, we're on the cusp of some really great change in the community, and I'd like to see what we can do with that. So yeah. I appreciate everyone's time, and that's all I have to say about that.
All right, Deputy Mayor Loveless.
I don't want to beat a dead horse.
But still winning, you go for it.
I'll have to say,
I'm going to.
I always have to say I was disappointed that we didn't at least move it on to a public hearing, because we could have got all that information. And it's still going to public hearing, and you still would have had a chance to vote it down. So I was disappointed a little bit. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you all. I want to start
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry.
We've had public comment already. I'm sorry.
I understand, but
no, we've had public comment already. It's closed. We're closing. Thank you. I just want to mention before it gets all lost in the feedback. Pete Bickmore has been a chief in this town for a while now. He has gone through quite a bit recently in his personal and professional life, and I was very disheartened to hear that he, but I understand that he has decided to retire October 10th. Pete has been a huge part of this town. He's been a big supporter of the town and the people. He's gone out of his way to know people and get him to know him. He's been nothing but supportive of this town, and he has become a very close and good friend of mine, and he's going to be sorely, sorely missed. And Pete, if you're listening to this, get well, get better. We'll talk soon. So you're going to be missed greatly. So I'm going to put the final death throes in this beating horse that we've had. So I just want to clarify one thing. A business plan was asked for, and that's completely reasonable. And I asked them if they could provide it before the next meeting to the council. They said yes, no problem. They were going to do that. The council, by the numbers we had, failed to act upon that ordinance, meaning that the ordinance dies and it's no longer viable. They got up and left because they said they were done. Not done with this meeting, they were done. They're pulling their offer off the table. So to talk about they can do this, they can do that, some other town's going to talk about that now. Pittsfield blew that opportunity. I am very upset that we worked with a bit more foresight with that and looking to the future, especially talking about the whole Main Street improvements that we have. And, you know, the Peak Committee met. They were put in that position because of their intelligence, their professionalism, and their decision-making process. They felt it worthy to present to the council for consideration. However, the council decided that they didn't even want to talk about it. The vote resulted in not even talking about it. didn't agree with it, but he didn't want to talk about it. So we've lost that opportunity, and I'm very disappointed. I think we blew it. And if we put it on the open market, and I'll reiterate, we've said time again, sell it for $1, sell it for 20. The money means nothing. But then again, the only thing that passed about that is the fact that we're going to go charge money for it and put it on the active market. So let's say somebody buys it for the asking price. Who says it's going to be a theater? What obligation will this new buyer say it's going to be a theater? Well, I bought the building. I'm under no obligation to even do anything with it. I'm just going to let it sit there and rot. So if we start putting covenants on new buyers, well, no, you have a building that's going to take $500,000 to get up to snuff and make it a viable opportunity. Why would I bother doing that? These people have a vision. They have a plan. They have a dog in the fight. They're from this area. I won't preach anymore. I'm just disappointed that it went that way. So thank you all very much for your time. Before we go on, yes.
I have something. Is there a way in our charter that we can revisit that?
No.
If somebody wanted to change their mind?
We don't have an offer anymore. We can revisit, but we don't have anyone to buy the place, so it's a moot point now. We can rewrite it if we had a buyer, but unless they come to us, or maybe Pete would probably approach them if we put it back on for that. Would they entertain it again? I don't know. I mean, I think it's worth it. Although we do have the resolution to have Gary Jordan, Aaron Bolster come up with a reasonable market price. If that's what the council voted on, which is what was the result of tonight's votes. That's what we have for an active resolution.
Well, that was tabled.
On next theater. What's that?
I said that was actually tabled, though. So that
table for the next meeting, but that's the only active thing. The first one was not voted on, so it had no action. And the second one was based on the action on the first one, so that one disappeared. The only one left was to be tabled based on the recommendation of actually let's get a professional input of what a reasonable price would be if it's going to go back to be an active market.
So it's not a way per the charter if council wanted to change their vote on the 2209.
No, we've already voted on it.
And at this point, we don't have an active offer. We will speak to them through Peak and see if there could be. I don't think so.
30 seconds. We're way out of...
Two questions. If the offer was made in writing, does it have to be withdrawn in writing? And does a verbal count as a withdrawal of the offer? And second thing, there is a provision in the administrative code to reconsider either at this meeting or at the next meeting, which would be a moot point. But it can be reconsidered at this meeting. I don't have my book with me, so I can't look it up. If somebody has their book, you can reconsider an item that was voted on and voted down. I believe it's the side that made the motion that lost that needs to. There's something in there to reconsider it at the same meeting. But
technically, it wasn't voted down because there was no action able because we didn't have a quorum.
It was voted not to proceed to public hearing. So it was voted 3-4.
That would have been an active vote. There was no vote taken because the vote that resulted was 3-2 against it, which, given the numbers, no action could be taken on that, so that goes away.
Right. But if a counselor wanted to reconsider their motion, knowing that I'm thinking of a way to get these people back to...
Understood. It's based on the fact that we have a buyer in hand. They made it very clear when they left, they're pulling their offer. Let's wait to see what they say, and if they are willing to reconsider, we put on the next meeting. But right now, we have nothing to act on.
So then you're looking at taking action on the 18th and possibly putting it on 2 more weeks after that, which is not helpful to the situation.
Understood, but without a buyer, all we're talking about is just procedure, and we're just flapping our lips in the wind, because there's nothing we have to act upon. That ordinance is no longer in existence, and the buyers are no longer in existence, so we have nothing to act upon. So we're done.
My first question is to whether a verbal statement here is withdrawal or is to be in writing.
There's nothing to talk about. I'll look for a motion, please, to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second? Seconded. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, John. You're awesome. The administrative team came in and they're like, Danny from this town. I'm like, yeah. They're like, the same time to take care of that issue, and we were so grateful.
That's what I say. A lot of times, the best thing to do is try to keep the communication.
Yeah.
People don't communicate.
Yeah, and he was like, I didn't know we could get something
He
done
said
the same day.
that-
By the way, so I was like,
Early this morning, I'm coming over from the bus, catching up with it. I don't know how much more to see the register there, how it's around. Here, the print secretary, and all the side of the bus. I said, did it just happen with that? No, it's been happening for 3 weeks. Why did she come 3 weeks ago? Why did you come now? She coming on me tonight. Yeah, she's coming on. Why wouldn't he come? He's talking about it. They said he's going to get a good business when he does that.
You don't know, they did a good job of what they did, and maybe they didn't realize.
You asked for a business plan, they said, yeah, we'll see this thing.
It's not just a bush one. There's a lot of
She was going to give you what you asked for, and based on that, you were going to go to a vote. But the vote said, we're not even going to talk about it.
Yeah, the tree.
They wanted to drink, they wanted it. They had no
I guess my
business.
understanding is that we needed to be able to bring when we had the information on the capital. Because
The vote was to move the public hearing. They made it clear the board made that vote. You said, no, there's not sending a public hearing. That was the vote. And they tried to do that. No, that was not the vote. The vote was the public on the other. It was not passed to a public hearing. It's not a public hearing. You're sending it off. That's what we done. We had issues. We still haven't figured this out. I think that's.
Why we're not entertaining this, you know, and then.
So now we're on.
Because it was work on it, try to get
I think it's a bit.
going, or it's up to the council to approve the sale.
When they're doing it all day.
So it's up to the buyer to make that council.
Oh, guys,
I know, it's back.